We need material to make soil. We need material to add to the soil, to decompose. And convenient trees like this ice cream bean, which is a legume, it fixes nitrogen, and it recovers from a cut, can be put to work not only to fix nitrogen, but to create organic matter we can add to the soil. This creates the soil building material for us, a convenient element. And every time we cut it, the roots underneath pull back and they add compost corridors to the soil. They decompose, and the leaves we break off decompose. We're adding to the soil on the top and lower down, building structure, creating good pathways for organisms to facilitate that soil creation. Functional placement of useful elements by choice. That's permaculture soil creation in a good, rugged, functional way. Worm farms are another way you can make compost. The compost worm farm with compost worms makes this beautiful ingredient. It's a very sticky, very fertile, very bacterially dominated fertilizer. A solid material produced in just 3 months. All you need is an old bath, or a sink will do it if you want a small one. Half fill it up with manure, horse, cow or sheep. A ruminant manure is good. If you're going to use chicken manure, use a little bit less. Fill the rest up with vegetable scraps, vegetation. Anything can go in there that's been alive, really. Make sure it's got a drain, because what comes out the bottom is this beautiful liquid. That's a liquid fertilizer for your garden. And you can conveniently add to this every day. You don't need a lot of space. It's not like composting in a big pile. This takes up a small amount of room. It'll even fit on your balcony in the suburbs. You'll get a large population of worms in here, and this great material. A beautiful, high quality, colloidal substance that will feed your garden, feed your plants, and give you plenty of good, rich mineral health in your food. Compost worm farming, great stuff. These are actually weeds out of the garden. So problems in the garden become solutions in the duck pen. Later on become solutions in the garden. Underneath here there's earthworms. Lots of them, compost worms. That's a big earthworm. Beautiful reflections on the skin. Now that has hundreds of thousands of varieties of bacteria in its intestinal tract. The manure of these worms is absolutely full of beneficial bacteria. Now, when we then add this to our duck food, it goes through the duck and gets an even more diverse variation of bacteria inoculum. This worm actually goes through the mulch and the soil. There's another one. Whoa, look, there's another one here coming through the mulch. He's trying to escape. They know there's a few ducks around, I expect. So, duck, 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 duck. Worms have been living in the organic matter, which is high in carbon, and they've been actually feeding on the duck manure that's soaking through. But they're much lower down than the ducks can get to. So if I expose them, they're duck food. There you go. That's an unhappy worm, but a very happy duck. And we've got some very happy soil organisms when we take this manured mulch to the garden. So we have manured water, we have manured mulch, we have happy ducks, we have a very large population of worms, and unless we feed them to our ducks, they're pretty happy. They're creating all kinds of additives that are beneficial to soil organisms. We've just got to put it in a good relationship pattern that's easy for us to use. That's what permaculture is about. Getting beneficial elements patterned so we get a very, very easy to work, energy efficient relationship, and we get the benefit of the product. Here we have a end result of ducks and geese using their pond, which they'll always manure. And the water by gravity ends up here. and just set it up in that way so that it easily delivers itself here to this tap. And we fill this up and it's just well manured water from happy ducks and geese. Happy ducks, happy plants, happy soil organisms. Everything benefits, and we just easily deliver it to the garden. And we fill the pond back up, and tomorrow they'll deliver some more. I'm inside the chicken pen. It's actually a straw yard. We've piled up all this organic matter, which is waste material. It's old crop residue, scraps from the kitchen, plus a lot of weeds, which are a problem in the garden and in our growing systems. But here, they turned into a solution. So down here on the lower part of the straw yard, the chickens tend to kick everything downhill. All the weeds and vegetation and veggie scraps have started to really break down here. And here's a harvest, literally turning waste into wealth. Here are the worms again. Here they are. And that's ideal chicken food, but they're existing down in these lower layers where the chickens can't quite scratch down to. So we've got happy chickens. We've got happy gardeners who've got great compostable material and super high quality mulch that we can put around our fruit trees, we can turn into compost, we can feed the soil. The choice is up to us how we want to use a material like this. They spend some of the time in here, and then the rest of the time they go out and free range through our food forest systems where they're really happy, scratching around our trees, breaking the pest cycles and weed cycles again, and aerating the soil by very light scratching. So I'll feed the chickens with a little bit of food around the fruit trees that I want fertilised. So they'll all gather up around those trees and they'll spend more time scratching and fertilising in a particular area. And if I concentrate it around the fruit trees, those trees get a little bit more attention from the birds, a little bit more soil processing, a little bit more weeding, a little bit more fertilizer. And here's a guava. They're underneath a little Hawaiian guava here, and that's a tree that gets fruit fly. So any fruit that drops on the ground can have fruit fly eggs in it and larvae that hatch, but not with these birds here. They're going to process those fruit fly larvae and break all the pest cycles. So we're happy about that. They're happy about that.